Project Magnet 2.0, a Canadian UAP investigation.
A federally funded science project, once described as one of the most engaging public initiatives in recent government history, is now raising questions about transparency and follow-through. Critics say the Sky Canada project has stalled, and that promising research opportunities were left unexplored.
Yeah, we just flew by something, not sure what it was. Didn't quite look like a balloon, but we almost hit it.
4204, okay, thanks very much. We'll make a note of that.
The Sky Canada project was launched by the Office of Canada's Chief Science Advisor to review how the country handles reports of unidentified anomalous phenomena, or more commonly referred to as UAPs.
Lots has been written and presented to the U.S. Congress on this topic. Scientists and those experts in that field have briefed Congress on this. I know that our Canadian minister has been briefed, some of our persons here as well. Would this be a topic that you would be interested in studying?
Mr. Chair, we have initiated a study on this, we've made it actually public that we are carrying out this study. I must say that it has generated a lot of public interest.
According to the government's own description, the project aimed to improve transparency, identify reporting gaps, and strengthen scientific inquiry around unexplained sightings.
Looks like a triangle.
It is a triangle with a red light in the middle.
Wow.
It is. The red light is right in the center of the triangle. That's unusual.
Has your office reviewed Government of Canada historical documentation, including previous efforts such as the Project Magnet?
We have gathered a lot of historical information. I think our report is going to be quite fascinating on the historic front. So stay tuned.
Is it correct just to say that the Canadian government had a secret UFO project?
It is, yes, they did. And they didn't, it was called Project Magnet, as you know. And for 4 years it operated in the open. But then, as Smith himself says in a speech that he made in Western Canada, there was so much press attention that they went underground. And this sort of gives you an indication of what happened in the United States, too. They were just getting too much attention, so they went underground.
The Chief Science Advisor reportedly called it one of the most engaging topics in the history of the office. But as some observers, such as Nicholas Lee, a UAP researcher and filmmaker, would like to point out, that momentum didn't last. He inquired about a proposal connected to the project's recommendations, suggesting that Canada's National Research Council, which oversees the Dominion Astrophysical Observatory, examine pre-Sputnik astronomical photographic plates. Mr. Lee stated that further study of historical transient anomalies would not only advance scientific understanding, but also demonstrate Canada's continued commitment to curiosity-driven research and international collaboration. The idea draws on research by Swedish astronomer Dr. Beatrice Villarroel, whose work has analyzed historical sky surveys for unexplained transient anomalies.
So the very first human object in space was the Russian Sputnik satellite. That was 1957, am I right?
Yes.
So before that, there wouldn't have been any artificial human objects in space, correct?
Exactly. And we compared the images of the sky and we looked while we were looking for vanishing stars, suddenly one day, and this actually, as a fun thing, this happened exactly the same week as the pandemic started in Europe, that I found this image of 9 stars that were there on the 12th of April 1950 and that were not there again and couldn't be seen there half an hour earlier either.
Because those plates were captured before satellites filled Earth's orbit, some researchers argue they offer a unique baseline for identifying unusual phenomena without modern space debris interference.
What have you found? Obviously, the slides that you're talking about, these are glass plate slides. What observatory slides were you using?
So we were using digitized glass plates. So they have actually digitized all these images, or not all, many of them, from the Palomar Observatory, which is in California.
Mr. Lee's proposal was straightforward. study archival plates already under federal stewardship to look for unexplained transients. But, according to the response he received from the NRC, they told him that the Herzberg Astronomy and Astrophysics Research Center is unable to pursue this proposal. Our researchers are engaged in a broad range of ongoing projects, and we do not have the resources to allocate to this request. UAP researchers argue that examining existing astronomical archives would align directly with that mission, advancing scientific inquiry without speculation. Now, questions are being raised about accountability. The Office of the Chief Science Advisor operates with a significant public budget, and the role carries a salary reported to be in the range of senior federal executives, roughly $400,000 annually. If a project was as engaging and important as described, critics ask, why were follow-up studies not pursued? What mechanisms exist to ensure recommendations are acted upon? And how transparent is the process once public attention fades?
The natural resources we're looking at, why these particular objects, whatever they are, might hover around nuclear facilities. I would think that would be of special interest. I've also seen that in some of the French documents from France as well. Can you comment on any connection that you may have studied or seen in that area, and what sort of, and particularly in the study that you're doing, what sort of things are you studying?
So yeah, perhaps I can briefly summarize what our study is about. What we're doing is we're actually looking at the process by which public reporting of unidentified aerial phenomena actually happens in the country, and making recommendations, if need be, on what should be, if we need to improve on the system, and how best to align our efforts with our allies.
The science advisor wasn't exactly forthcoming on that nuclear-related question, but she's not the only one giving vague answers. The former public safety minister was also asked whether his department takes this topic seriously, and if he has been briefed on the subject. His answer might surprise you.
The Director of National Intelligence of the United States recently released a report concerning unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP. The report discusses the military sightings of hundreds of these objects that exhibit, as it says, unusual flight characteristics. And as I'm sure you're aware, on Tuesday, the United States Congress held its first congressional hearing on this in about 50 years. And during that U.S. congressional hearing, the U.S. military officials said that the UAP represents a national security risk, particularly with the sightings around nuclear plants. Do you feel that your government should be taking this as seriously as the American government?
Ms. Dancho, I saw some of the similar reports that you're referring to, and I'm confident that our national security apparatus looks at all manner of threats to our national security. And
have you had any briefings about UAP?
Well, I think my understanding of this particular aspect or phenomenon is that it would likely fall more under the portfolio of the Department of National Defense, which is, I think, the branch that again would likely have that mandate. But I guess the point that I'm really making, Ms. Dancho, is that our national security partners look for potential threats to our national security in every dimension, and as they arise, we get briefed and we share.
But to date, you have not been briefed on this. You haven't had any discussions
on this particular phenomenon? No.
When investigative journalist Daniel Otis filed a Freedom of Information Act request asking Ontario Power Generation for records of unidentified anomalous phenomena observed near Ontario's nuclear facilities, he expected a routine response. Instead, he got a years-long legal battle, funded by the very taxpayers OPG is supposed to serve.
We talk about government transparency. I'm in a multi-year battle now to try and get security reports on UFO sightings from these nuclear power plants released. They have been denying...
They're refusing to release them.
They refuse to release them. This was I think I first filed my request in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. They've refused to release them. I filed a complaint. We went through mediation. They continue to refuse to release them. And then in addition to refusing to release them, they hired outside counsel to create a legal justification that stated that they are, a provincial crown corporation, so a provincial governmental corporation runs these nuclear power plants. And what they're trying to argue now is that by following the provincial freedom of information legislation, they would therefore be in violation of their federal nuclear security obligations.
And yet we have this Sky Canada report saying that one of the things that is most essential is for the public to be discouraged from developing conspiracy theories by the government being as open as possible about everything that it knows on the subject of UAPs. It's a total contradiction.
OPG initially refused disclosure under a health and safety exemption, then raised over a dozen additional objections when Otis appealed to Ontario's Information and Privacy Commissioner, invoking constitutional powers and the Federal Nuclear Safety and Control Act to resist releasing even redacted records. OPG's own acknowledgement confirms the records exist.
I wanted to thank your officials, Mr. Hannaford, from the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission for meeting with me yesterday. They were courteous and very knowledgeable, but I was troubled to find out that the letter I sent to you, which included the U.S. Director of National Intelligence's preliminary assessment on UAPs, including the legislation and a list of the UAP sightings near Canadian nuclear facilities, was not shared with the Director General, who's in charge of the security of safeguards. So why didn't you share that information with your officials?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I should say at the outset that obviously nuclear safety is one of the critical aspects of the work of CNSC and of my department, and is something that we do take very seriously. Following on your question at our last appearance, we did receive your letter, and I do apologize. There was we're still tracking down precisely what happened, but the information was not provided to CNSC, as you say. I've now had several conversations, though, with both my colleagues within the department and with the president of CNSC. I can assure you that this is something that both organizations are fully apprised of. And as you note in your letter, this is a matter that is of importance.
Security involved, and that's why I was asking them the questions and why we gave you the information over a month ago.
Every new legal argument OPG mounts consumes staff time, legal fees, and administrative resources, all of it drawn from the public purse.
This is putting taxpayer money into fighting transparency. Thankfully, I was able to find a lawyer, Josh DeHaas, with the Canadian Constitution Foundation, who's taking on this case pro bono. And the Ontario Power Generation, the folks that operate this nuclear power plant, were really trying to drown me in legalese. And
it's funny you should mention it, because there is a nexus, isn't there, between nuclear plants, nuclear power facilities, and UAP sightings. Have you had anecdotal reports that have led to you asking for these FOI reports?
Absolutely, yeah.
The public is effectively paying to be kept in the dark about what is being observed above infrastructure it owns. OPG may eventually exhaust its arguments, but its institutional priorities are already on full display.
W.B. Smith speaking. I have been actively engaged in the investigation of the group of phenomena known as flying saucers for over 7 years. I started the investigation out of curiosity and as an extreme skeptic, fully expecting to find the phenomena to be due to man-made or natural causes.
Transport Canada's response to a direct inquiry regarding Wilbert B. Smith, Project Magnet, and departmental knowledge of UAPs is a masterclass in saying nothing while appearing cooperative, marked unclassified. As if to preemptively signal there is nothing worth hiding, the reply offers hollow reassurances about aviation safety and redirects serious historical and scientific questions to the Office of the Chief Science Advisor.
R7062, go ahead.
Yeah, is there any active military airspace just like north of Winnipeg?
No, nothing I'm aware of. You said north of Winnipeg?
Yeah.
No, not right now.
Okay. Lots of active bright lights, information 3, and they look like they're at like 500 or something, just trying to figure it out.
And you said around 50,000 feet, roughly. Is that correct?
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, it's hard to say, but yeah, it keeps being like 3 to 4 really bright lights, and they kind of were in like a triangle formation, and then it looks like they're a little dipper for a bit, and then they disappear, and then they come back.
Okay. Okay, thanks for that. I'll just make a note, but yeah, I can't think of what that might be.
One of the most important things I had to realize was that we are not alone. The human race in the form of man extends throughout the universe and is incredibly ancient. Also, its appearance in physical form is but one of its many manifestations along the path of progress. Our civilization here on Earth now is only one of many that have come and gone. This planet has been colonized many times by people from elsewhere, and our present human race are blood brothers of these people.
No acknowledgement of Wilbert B. Smith, one of Canada's most significant figures in early UAP research, who operated under Transport Canada's own roof.
And also, interestingly enough, he worked in the Department of Transport, which is the department that I went to after I left Defense. So my predecessor, Honorable Jack Pickersgill, left me his personal files, and I was showing Grant Cameron this morning one of the files where Pickersgill had answered a query from a member of Parliament from Western Canada concerning Wilbert Smith's work. And of course he got the usual runaround that this had been a private concern, and that he had just been loaned some facilities of the department that he used in his spare time, and this sort of thing. It was the kind of official nonsense that you get, and I understand it well from having written some over my period in government, and you know how to interpret what the words really mean. But also I've since, of course, read things that Smith has said about his contact with extraterrestrials and what they told him, and the wonderful world that is possible if we would just, if we wanted it and made it happen.
Now, having located what seemed to be channels of communication between ourselves and these extraterrestrial intelligences, the next and obvious step was to try and get as much information as possible. As may be expected, this effort was at first directed toward science and technology, but it soon became apparent that there was a very real and quite large gap between this alien science and the science in which I had been trained. Certain crucial experiments were suggested and carried out, and in each case the results confirmed the validity of the alien science.
And Smith subsequently asked them if there was some way of detecting these areas so that we could avoid them. And they gave him the answer and told him how to make a machine that, in fact, he made, and they did indicate where the fields were. As far as I know, though, it was never put into any practical use.
No mention of Project Magnet, a government-sanctioned UAP investigation. No transparency, just carefully worded institutional language designed to close doors without visibly slamming them.
The inevitable conclusion was that it was all real enough, but that the alien science was definitely alien, and possibly even forever beyond our comprehension. So another approach was tried, the philosophical. And here the answer was found in all its grandeur. The people from outside displayed great patience and understanding in overcoming the prejudices and misinformation I had spent many years in accumulating. I began for the first time in my life to realize the basic oneness of the universe and all that is in it. Science, philosophy, religion, substance, and energy are all facets of the same jewel. And before any one facet can be appreciated, the form of the jewel itself must be perceived.
The dismissive attitude toward UAP-related inquiries at Transport Canada is not merely an isolated bureaucratic quirk. It appears to be institutional policy. Internal government emails uncovered by Canadian investigative journalist Daniel Otis reveal that a senior Transport Canada official sought to dismiss multiple access to information and privacy requests on unidentified aerial phenomena as trivial or frivolous. That official, Patrick Juneau, made his contempt for the subject plain in writing. In a 2021 email, he described the flood of UAP-related requests as insane, complaining that Transport Canada had become a full-time ATIP search for little green men, and that it was no longer within the definition of reasonable. By January 2022, he had escalated his characterization further, describing the requests as abusive, harassing, and vexatious, and a wild goose chase not in the interests of taxpayers. The irony is striking. Despite his apparent disdain for the subject, Juneau was later designated Transport Canada's lead on UAPs and its primary point of contact with U.S. counterparts at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The man tasked with gatekeeping UAP information for Canada was the same official who had worked to shut down public inquiries about it. The message from Transport Canada, whether in 1954 or today, is the same. This subject is not worth your time and not worth ours. Canada has long positioned itself as a quiet but deeply embedded participant in the suppression of UAP disclosure. From Smith's classified memos to former Transport and Defense Minister, Paul Hellier's public warnings from within the highest levels of government.
There's been a very clever and very, in my opinion, insidious effort to keep it all quiet from the American people, to the extent that, as far as the U.S. is concerned, their official position is that UFOs don't exist, even though there are millions of pages of testimony in the archives that refer directly or indirectly to them.
For decades, it was the question governments refused to answer, and the people who asked it were dismissed, ridiculed, even career-ended for daring to ask. But something has shifted. Now, the establishment figures are catching up. Retired U.S. Army Colonel Carl Nell is no fringe theorist. He served as the Army's official liaison to the Pentagon's UAP task force. His commanding officer once described him as an officer with the strongest possible moral compass. And at a major financial and geopolitics conference in New York, he said this:
"Do you believe that a higher form of non-human intelligence has visited this planet?"
Right. So, non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. This interaction is not new, and it's been ongoing. And there are unelected people in the government that are aware of that.
And so, Carl, that is quite a bold statement. I'm wondering, and I'm curious, how confident are you that that is true?
There's zero doubt.
What was the moment where you developed this level of conviction? Because what you're saying is extremely consequential and very important, and I know that a lot of people here, even perhaps, may not believe that statement.
Right. Well, probably a better way to ask that is, how can the folks in the audience come to the, a common understanding of what this phenomenon is? And so there's sort of two tracks here. One is from first principles, and another is actually from the data. So let's take a look at the data. So we can look at some folks that have very high level access to information, like Paul Hellier, who was the defense chief for Canada, has come out and said the same thing.
And of course, sure, there was collaboration in NORAD. One of the people that came to see me after I went public was an Air Force officer, former Air Force officer, who had been a prisoner of war in Europe and seen the Foo fighters over there, and also a huge flying saucer of some kind one day that flew overhead. And he was stationed at the west coast of Canada and was given authority to send up fighters to chase a UFO, unsuccessfully, of course. So this was part of the package of being in NORAD.
Chris Mellon, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Intel, SAPCO, has essentially said the same thing.
Chris Mellon spent 20 years at the heart of American national security. He served as Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence under both Presidents Clinton and Bush, overseeing, by many accounts, the Pentagon's most sensitive black programs. And in 2017, convinced the government was dangerously ignoring a real and unresolved threat, he made a decision that cracked the story open, quietly passing declassified military footage of UAP encounters to the New York Times. The paper published it on its front page, and nothing has been quite the same since. Now that conversation has crossed the border. CTV News Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon, one of Canada's most seasoned and respected journalists, sat down with Christopher Mellon to ask the question Canadians deserve an answer to. What does all of this mean for us?
Do you know of anything specifically that has happened in Canada?
Oh, sure. There's lots of incidents where NORAD has had. I interviewed a colonel from NORAD on the Unidentified television show, and he talked about a high-flying UAP that came down from the Arctic, across Canada, and we were scrambling everything we could in the air to intercept this thing, and were unable to intercept it. And it went out over Florida and Cuba and disappeared. There's a famous case in Canada of a gentleman, I think he was a miner, and he was in the woods and claims to have come across a craft that was landed, and he approached it, and he ended up getting like radiation burns on his chest and had to go to the hospital. But when they went to investigate, they did find the vegetation charred and what looked like, a place where something heavy and hot had set down, and he had these wounds on his chest. So, there's some very interesting stories about things that have happened in Canada.
The incident Mr. Mellon is referring to is this. On May 20th, 1967, Stefan Michalak, an amateur geologist from Winnipeg, was prospecting for quartz and silver along the eastern shore of Falcon Lake in Manitoba, when he encountered something that would leave permanent physical evidence on his body and remain unexplained to this day. Michalak reported that two cigar-shaped objects descended from the sky, one hovering while the other landed on a flat, rocky outcropping nearby. He approached the craft, close enough to hear voices from within and to touch its surface, describing it as hot to the touch and constructed of a material resembling polished steel.
There are no seams, there's no rivets, there are no screws. There's a sort of a dome on the top, and it's got slits in it. So he's wearing gauntlets, long gloves, and he reaches out to touch the craft, and the fingertips all melt. Now, suddenly, out comes this blast of something, lights his shirt on fire, and sends him back. He falls to the ground. He's busily trying to put out this fire that's on his chest. He's wearing a strappy cotton undershirt. So he pulls that off and throws it to the ground. Meanwhile, this craft is continuing to rise and leave. And then, gone.
What sets the Falcon Lake case apart from most UAP encounters is the physical corroboration. Michalak was treated at hospital for burns, nausea, and radiation-consistent symptoms. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police investigated the site. Soil samples from the alleged landing area were found to contain elevated levels of radium and were considered so anomalous that the soil was removed and sent for analysis. The site showed a disturbed ring of earth consistent with Michalak's description. His clothing was found to be radioactive. The case drew attention not only from Canadian agencies, but from American ones as well. The University of Colorado UFO Project, the U.S. Air Force commissioned scientific study led by physicist Edward Condon, which ran from 1966 to 1968 and formed the basis for the government's conclusions about UFOs under what became known as the Condon Report, examined the Falcon Lake incident as one of its cases. That a formally constituted Air Force-funded academic investigation considered the Michalak encounter significant enough to include is a testament to the weight the physical evidence carried at the time. The case was listed in the Condon Report as unexplained. Canadian government agencies, including the RCMP, the Department of National Health and Welfare, and the Department of Transport all examined some aspect of the case, and none produced a definitive explanation. The Falcon Lake incident remains, by the assessment of many researchers, the most physically documented UAP encounter in Canadian history, and the fact that it happened on Canadian soil was investigated by Canadian agencies and American academic institutions alike, and still carries no official resolution, speaks volumes about the institutional will to answer the questions it raises.
Lou Elizondo has said the same thing. David Grush has said the same thing. David Grush cleared for presidentially level material. So you're looking at people that are in a position to know this, and they're telling you the same thing.
A decorated combat veteran and Air Force intelligence officer, David Grush served as a representative on the Pentagon's UAP task force, and later at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, one of the most powerful and secretive arms of American intelligence.
Mr. Chairman, ranking members and congressmen, thank you. I'm happy to be here. This is an important issue, and I'm grateful for your time.
That he became aware of something the government had gone to extraordinary lengths to conceal.
I was my agency's co-lead in Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena and Transmedium Object Analysis, as well as reporting to the UAP Task Force, UAPTF, and eventually, once it was established, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO.
A multi-decade program to retrieve and reverse engineer craft not made by human hands.
I have taken every step I can to corroborate this evidence over a period of 4 years while I was with the UAP Task Force, and do my due diligence on the individual sharing it. This is because of these steps, I believe strongly in the importance of bringing this information before you.
He filed formal whistleblower complaints, faced retaliation, and ultimately went public, delivering sworn testimony before the United States Congress in July 2023 that stopped the world in its tracks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to our witnesses who are testifying today. I want to thank each of you for being here to discuss a topic of grave importance to our national security. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
At the time, Canada's chief science advisor had no correspondence with U.S. officials on the topic of UAP. Yet her own department was in contact with former AARO director Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, a man repeatedly caught spreading misinformation.
And have you had any discussions yourself with the government UAP office in the United States?
Not myself on that.
Or your department?
They have with different folks. I'm sorry, I don't remember, the names, but we can certainly, forward them. I can tell you that we're taking this seriously, and speaking with. We want this. Sorry.
But here is what most Canadians don't know. More than a year before that historic hearing, on May 31st, 2022, Grush sat down over Zoom with Canadian Member of Parliament Larry Maguire. The meeting, later obtained through Canada's Access to Information Act, reveals that Grush briefed Maguire on NORAD's role in collecting UAP data, discussed UAP activity near nuclear facilities, and openly referenced the possibility of non-human origins.
I am driven by a commitment of both to truth and transparency, rooted in our inherent duty to uphold the United States Constitution and protect the American people. I'm asking Congress to hold our government to this standard and thoroughly investigate these claims. But as I stand here under oath now, I am speaking to the facts as I've been told them.
He also pointed to a gap Canada could no longer afford to ignore. The Royal Canadian Air Force had no official UAP working group and no formal data sharing arrangement with the United States. That meeting lit a fuse. Maguire subsequently wrote a letter to Canada's Minister of National Defence, raising alarm that Defense Research and Development Canada may have been sitting on recovered UAP material for decades, analyzed quietly through the Five Eyes Foreign Material Program, while elected officials, including the minister herself, were kept entirely in the dark. The question it raises is urgent. While Washington has been forced into the open, what is Ottawa still not telling Canadians? When Canadian politician Larry Maguire wrote his now famous letter to Minister of National Defence Anita Anand in March 2023, urging a classified briefing on Canada's alleged involvement in covert UAP material recovery programs, he made a deliberate and pointed decision about who to carbon copy. Among the names on that list was Major General Michael Wright, commander of Canadian Forces Intelligence Command. That choice was not incidental. 1 year prior to when Mr. Maguire sent that letter to the Defense Minister, he confirmed on Twitter that members of the Royal Canadian Air Force and Canadian Forces Intelligence Command received a briefing from UAP task force officials from the United States. One of those officials was formerly the head of the UAP task force, John F. Stratton. As for the letter sent to the Defense Minister, UAP researcher and filmmaker Jeremy Corbell, who obtained the letter and discussed it on the Weaponized podcast, alongside investigative journalist George Knapp, told viewers directly.
His name has been brought up to me for years now as somebody who was what they call a gatekeeper to this information.
Corbell was unambiguous about what Maguire's decision to include Wright on the letter signified.
Seeing his name there, that feels like a warning shot. That individual knows about these programs, from what I know, over a few years now. That individual knows about these exploitation programs that are coordinated through Five Eyes and with Canada. So putting that person on this as a CC feels to me like a shot fired. Yeah, I feel the same way.
The letter itself is damning in what it implies about the depth of Canada's involvement. Maguire urged that recovered foreign material is studied through the Five Eyes Foreign Material Program, which in Canada is sponsored by the Canadian Forces Intelligence Command, the very command Wright led. What emerges from this picture is a chain of command in which information about UAP recovery and exploitation is tightly held.
He is informing the Minister of National Defense, like the Secretary of Defense in the US equivalent, that she's not aware that they have been participating through basically their form of DARPA, through this Five Eyes Foreign Materials Program, in the reverse engineering of UFOs. That's what this document admits.
For anyone who has tried to extract meaningful information from various federal departmental agencies or allied departments about Canada's UAP history, the presence of a named gatekeeper at the top of the intelligence chain is less surprising than it is confirming. The gatekeeping is not incidental bureaucracy. It has a name, a rank, and a command structure.
What did you make of today's hearing?
Well, first of all, the hearing was absolutely historic. A lot of people, after the 180-day report came out to Congress back some time ago in June, they were underwhelmed, not realizing the intent of that report. And actually, we are where we are today with the hearings because of that report.
Before the packed congressional hearing rooms, before the sworn testimony that made international headlines, before the word whistleblower became permanently attached to his name, Luis Elizondo was already talking to Canada. Elizondo spent nearly a decade running one of the most secretive programs inside the United States Department of Defense, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, known as ATIP, a covert Pentagon effort to investigate unidentified aerial phenomena that the government had spent years pretending didn't exist. When Elizondo concluded that the threat was real, that the objects being encountered by military pilots were performing in ways that defied known physics, and that the institutional response was dangerously inadequate, he resigned. What followed was years of advocacy, frustration, and relentless pressure on Washington to come clean. But quietly, in February 2021, more than 2 years before the landmark U.S. congressional hearing on UAP, Elizondo sat down for a private briefing with Canadian Member of Parliament Larry Maguire. What Elizondo told him clearly left a mark. McGuire went on to write a major op-ed demanding Canada take UAPs seriously. The thread connecting all of it runs back to that February 2021 briefing, to Elizondo, to a conversation a Canadian MP wasn't supposed to need to have, because his own government should have been having it for him.
What more would you like to add that I have not asked you about this hearing?
You have a lot of people right now working behind the scenes in Canada trying to get to the bottom of this, and I want to applaud those efforts. You have some people both in the private side and the government side that are taking this topic very seriously. And I think if the Canadian people want answers, I think all you have to do is ask for them. And I think some of those questions will start getting answered.
In February 2023, NORAD tactically engaged and shot down 3 unidentified anomalous phenomena in rapid succession. On February 10th over Alaska, February 11th over Yukon, and February 12th over Lake Huron, with debris from the Lake Huron object falling into Canadian waters. When UAP researcher Nicholas Lee filed access to information requests seeking photographs and documentation related to the Lake Huron debris, the RCMP refused disclosure in its entirety, citing an active investigation and invoking a law-enforcing exemption of the Access to Information Act. The refusal prompted a formal complaint to the Office of the Information Commissioner, which confirmed it intends to investigate whether the RCMP improperly withheld records that could have been at least partially released with redactions. In regard to the Yukon incident, declassified documents obtained through access to information requests revealed that a secret memorandum was sent directly to Prime Minister Trudeau, confirming that NORAD had been tracking UAP #23 over the Yukon since the afternoon of February 11th, and that the object's function, method of propulsion, and affiliation to any nation-state remained unverified at the time of engagement.
The safety of Canadians is our #1 priority, and that's why I made the decision to shoot down the object that was a threat to civil aviation and a potential threat to Canadians.
And that the impact zone sat along a known caribou migration route, raising the possibility of future accidental discovery by Indigenous hunters.
The object was flying at an altitude of approximately 40,000 feet, had unlawfully entered Canadian airspace, and posed a reasonable threat to the safety of civilian flight. The object was downed approximately 100 miles from the Canada-United States border over Canadian territory in central Yukon.
Meanwhile, Public Safety Canada was identified in NORAD documents as the lead federal agency for the UAP 23 recovery effort. They extended their response deadline by 180 days in regard to an access to information request, pushing the final answer to April 2026. That deadline passed, and another complaint was submitted to the Office of the Information Commissioner. They now intend to investigate Public Safety Canada for failing to meet its deadline. The paper trail is extensive. The stonewalling is equally so. As public interest in unidentified anomalous phenomena continues globally, some Canadians are asking whether their own institutions are prepared to lead, or whether promising scientific opportunities are being left on the shelf.
Lux 93, Papa Kilo Heavy, Montreal Center. Good morning. And just curious, are you still seeing those lights?
Yeah, sometimes there is hope. It's like it's more than one and sort of circling. Now it's going from right to left, so sort of a little bit towards us. But it's actually a very high altitude, so it's a bit weird.
Okay, so it's above you by quite a distance.
Yeah, for sure. It's the distance away is hard to say, but we're at 3.5, so they must be at least, I don't know, 50,000, 60,000 or something high. So, and they seem to be sort of circling. It seems to be more than one, and it's as if it shows suddenly in a sort of bright white color, and then it disappears again. It fades away, so it fades in and fades out.
Tim Gallaudet is a retired U.S. Navy Rear Admiral and career oceanographer. After the Navy, he went on to lead work on the nation's fisheries, coastal resources, weather satellites, and environmental research as Deputy Administrator of NOAA, and briefly served as acting head of the agency. That combination, decades of Navy oceanography plus a senior government science role, is what gives Gallaudet's take on UAP a different weight than most people talking about this subject.
Thank you for this opportunity to testify today regarding Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, or UAP. Confirmation that UAPs are real came to me in January of 2015 when I was serving as the commander of the Navy Meteorology and Oceanography Command. At the time, my personnel were participating in a pre-deployment naval exercise off the U.S. East Coast. It included the USS Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group, and this exercise was overseen by the United States Fleet Forces Command, led by a 4-star admiral who at the time was also my superior officer. During this exercise, I received an email on Navy's secure network from the operations officer of U.S. Fleet Forces Command. The email was addressed to all the subordinate commanders, and the subject line read in all capital letters, "Urgent Safety of Flight Issue." The text of the email was brief but alarming, with words to the effect, "If any of you know what these are, tell me ASAP. We are having multiple near mid-air collisions, and if we do not resolve this soon, we are going to have to shut down the exercise." Attached to the email is what is now known as the Go Fast video, captured on the forward-looking infrared sensor of one of the Navy F-A-18 aircraft participating in the exercise. The now declassified video showed an unidentified object exhibiting flight and structural characteristics unlike anything in our arsenal.
He's testified before Congress that UAP have been observed in the ocean and are known to exhibit transmedium travel through the air-sea interface, which is why researchers now use the term USO for these underwater cases.
Tim Gallaudet, welcome to the show.
It's an honor to be here, Sean. Thank you for inviting me.
He sat down with Sean Ryan to dig into exactly that, what the Navy has actually tracked in American waters, and why he thinks the government's secrecy around it is doing more harm than good. In this clip, he walks through two of the earliest and strangest cases on record, both out of Nova Scotia, Canada.
And you know of a Canadian USO encounter.
What happened first off, there was a major UFO event in Canada, a place called Shag Harbor, Nova Scotia, in, either the late 60s. I don't remember the date.
The incident Mr. Gallaudet is referring to is this. On the night of October 4th, 1967, residents of the small fishing village of Shag Harbor on the southern tip of Nova Scotia watched a series of flashing lights descend at a sharp angle toward the water.
There was a bright light, an enormous crash, and an unprecedented joint mobilization of Canadian and American government forces.
Exactly what hit the water in Shag Harbor, I'm not sure of. But whatever it was tracked for a great distance. It was in trouble.
This man is a member of the Canadian Armed Forces, with a security clearance above top secret. He was part of the original Shag Harbor strike force, and spoke exclusively with sightings about what the military knew.
It had entered the high atmosphere over northeastern Siberia. I was told that it hit the water, crash landed, and had actually moved underwater. This thing was not only aerodynamic, but hydrodynamic also. It had the capacity to travel in two mediums.
Multiple witnesses, including an RCMP officer, observed the object strike the surface of the harbor and apparently float briefly before sinking. Fearing a plane crash, the RCMP contacted the Rescue Coordination Center in Halifax, and within minutes, boats were dispatched to the site. What they found was not wreckage. Witnesses described a pale yellow foam on the surface of the water and a sulfurous smell, but no debris, no survivors, and no aircraft of any kind.
I believe that this was a device, possibly a craft, possibly a probe, from another intelligent civilization, not of this earth.
The Rescue Coordination Centre confirmed with Transport Canada, the RCMP, the Canadian Coast Guard, and the Canadian Forces that no aircraft were reported missing in the area that night. Whatever had gone into the water was not any craft that Canadian authorities could account for. The Canadian government officially logged the event. The Department of National Defence filed it under UFO, one of the very few cases in Canadian government records to receive that formal classification. It remains the only case in Canadian history where the Government of Canada officially documented an unidentified craft entering a body of water. What followed has become one of the more compelling and under-examined chapters of the incident. Investigative researchers and declassified documents have suggested that Canadian and American naval vessels subsequently gathered near a sandbar several miles from Shag Harbor, near a place called Government Point, where the object or objects were believed to have come to rest on the ocean floor. According to accounts from naval personnel and researchers who later investigated the case, the underwater activity continued for several days before the object or objects apparently departed, an account that has never been officially confirmed or denied by either government. And as for the other Nova Scotia incident, which happened before Shag Harbor in the 1960s,
there was another encounter where UFOs were seen to go into the water. And it happened at, I think it coincided with a NATO exercise, and the ships all got vectored to go look for these things. And Canadian divers were interviewed and claimed to have seen these two underwater discs and actual occupants outside the craft trying to repair it. So aliens. And they even said they captured video, but they don't know where the tapes are. Anyways, there's this book, Sweep Clear 5, is all about it. It's about the investigation into that. And that's the first well-documented USO case that I know about.
from the East Coast to the West Coast, the stories of Canadian UAP encounters traverse time.
Some places have become synonymous with UFOs. Roswell, New Mexico, Rendlesham Forest in England, and even Vancouver Island? Yep. October 8th, 1981, Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada. It is a cool autumn morning.
The video references 25-year-old Hannah McRoberts from Campbell River, British Columbia, who was on holiday with her family, photographing the coastline. One shot captures a mountain peak wreathed in cloud, nothing more. It's not until the film comes back from developing that anyone notices something else in the frame, a disc hovering above the peak. No one saw it happen. No one in the family remembers anything strange in the sky. The photo makes its way to UFO investigators, first in Canada, then to APRO in Arizona. A Berkeley engineering professor examines it. His verdict? No signs of fraud. But if real, this object would have to be hundreds of feet wide. And there's another interesting detail that raises eyebrows. McRoberts is the niece of one of Canada's leading nuclear engineers.
Behind me is CFB at Esquimalt, where two Victoria residents once witnessed and photographed 5 UAP hovering over Canada's Navy base. It's what happened after they reported their sighting that is interesting.
In September 1968, in Victoria, British Columbia, two locals, Hermanus Forlys and Reginald Neal, begin noticing an occasional light in the night sky over CFB Esquimalt, the Canadian naval base located on Vancouver Island. The light isn't static. It shifts color, blue, orange, red, and moves spasmodically, unlike anything they can explain. Determined to document it, the two men use a telephoto lens to capture the phenomenon on film. What develops surprises them. The single light they've been watching is, in fact, a formation. 5 distinct objects moving together above the base. It's worth noting, this was 1968, decades before consumer drones existed. Whatever they photographed, it wasn't hobbyist technology hovering over a military base. They bring their photograph to naval officials. What follows is a succession of interviews, but no clear conclusion is ever reached. In recent years, sightings near military installations have become a recurring thread in mainstream UFO coverage worldwide, from leaked footage to official disclosures. But this case stands apart. A rare instance from over half a century ago, where witnesses managed to photograph a formation, not just a single unexplained light, directly over an active naval base.
I'm standing at the summit of Mount Ptolemy in Saanich, BC, and as you can see behind me, the Dominion Astrophysical Observatory lingers off in the distance. It's here in the 1960s a woman walking her dog noticed an anomalous object hovering overhead. The strangest part of the case? The silence from her dog.
In the 1960s in Saanich, BC, a woman named Miss Footner had heard that the Sputnik satellite might be visible that night. So she took her Scotty dog Cam out to a field where horses grazed, a spot they visited all the time. She spotted a light near Little Saanich Mountain by the observatory and figured, there's my satellite. She was expecting a quick flash across the sky. Instead, it slowed down, grew bigger, and then stopped directly above her. Silver, glowing, lined with twinkling lights like windows. No sound, no wings, no gondola, just there. She scanned those lights for faces, saw none. Then, just as suddenly, it snapped a hard right angle and vanished toward Finlayson Arm. Here's the part that gets me. Her dog didn't bark. The horses didn't spook. Not one neighborhood dog made a sound. 100-foot silent object hovering over a field, and no threat felt by anyone or anything around during the time of the sighting. Among the more intriguing and unresolved cases in Canadian UAP history is a set of photographs and footage originating from rural Quebec in the winter of 1992. According to the accounts accompanying the footage, a friend of a Montreal resident arrived at an apartment to show a series of strange photographs, the last of which depicted a small gray being of unknown origin, described as an apparent extraterrestrial biological entity, or EBE, apparently lifeless, and discovered by snowmobilers in a field or wooded area not far from a road near the Rivière Rouge region in l'Annonciation, Quebec. The witness recounted that when the body was found in the snow, one of the snowmobilers retrieved a camera to document it, while other witnesses arrived at the site by car. Before the friend left that evening, the witness quickly filmed the photographs one by one with a video camera. That secondhand footage, a recording of still photographs played on a screen, would eventually make its way online. The footage shows what appears to be a small humanoid body discovered under snow cover near the Rouge River, with nostrils apparently filled with snow and dark eyes with white visible at their corners. What is notable about the Rivière Rouge case is precisely what has not happened. No definitive debunking. No prosthetic, prop, or production source has ever been conclusively identified. No original photographer has come forward to confess a hoax, and no laboratory analysis of the subject has ever been conducted or published. The chain of custody for the original photographs remains murky, passing through multiple anonymous hands before reaching the public. You could call it the kind of local civilian encounter that falls through the cracks of official inquiry and is left to researchers and the public to sort out on their own. In May 2011, a YouTube account with no profile picture, no bio, and no history uploaded 4 short video clips. The account, called Ivan0135, posted its first video on May 13, 2011. The videos purportedly showed a gray-skinned alien being examined, interviewed, and moved around by what looked like Soviet-era military personnel. The clips were framed as scenes spanning roughly 1942 to 1970, with the alien allegedly the survivor of a Roswell-type crash kept under military and scientific observation. Viewers nicknamed the creature Skinny Bob. After the last video went up on May 17, 2011, Ivan0135 went silent. No comments answered, no follow-ups, nothing. The channel remains on YouTube today, frozen in that moment. Amateur investigators have spent over a decade combing frame by frame. At the same time, no one has ever taken credit. No film or game was ever tied to it, and the channel has never been monetized. Skinny Bob was born in a very particular window of internet history. After cheap home video and early digital cameras made grainy found footage plausible, but before generative AI made synthetic humans, or aliens, trivial to produce. It's a clean pre-AI data point, a case where this would have been genuinely hard to fake was actually true, because the tools to fake it cheaply didn't exist yet. Now the default assumption runs the other way. Anything strange, anything captured on video, gets waved away with, "That's obviously AI." We live in an age where artificial intelligence can recreate a voice, render a scene, bring history back to life on a budget that once would have required a studio. This documentary used that technology, not to deceive you, but to help tell a story that deserves to be told. Every voiceover, every recreated moment was built as a tool in service of the truth, never a replacement for it. But that same technology is a double-edged sword. Now more than ever, we need common sense, the ability to separate what is real from what is manufactured. Because if bad actors can use AI to fabricate evidence, to manipulate public perception, then the risk of another Project Blue Book, another era of government-manufactured doubt, is no longer science fiction. It's a live possibility, which is why transparency cannot wait. We are calling on the Canadian government to fully declassify Project Magnet. Every file, every study, every piece of correspondence tied to the work of Wilbert B. Smith. Smith, a senior Canadian government radio engineer, told us decades ago that this subject was regarded by the USA as being of a classification 2 times higher than the hydrogen bomb. He told us that all world governments already knew we are not alone. And still, ordinary Canadians keep experiencing what they cannot explain.
Dad, oh my God, I can't believe we're in real time watching a UFO.
These are not fringe stories anymore. They are patterns repeating across this country year after year. And still, our institutions respond the way they always have, with silence, deflection, and a kind of institutional immaturity that no longer serves the public. That has to change. Disclosure isn't a request anymore. It's a demand. And it begins now, right here in Canada. If you want to be part of that demand, visit CanadiansForDisclosure.org and join a growing community of like-minded Canadians pushing this issue forward. The site makes it simple. With just a few clicks, you can send a message directly to your local representative, so your voice reaches Parliament Hill in Ottawa. And the pressure isn't only coming from within our borders.
Well, I think one of the most neglected areas of media coverage in America today, if not the whole world, is the subject of UAPs. As I discovered, quite frankly, to my shock when I started investigating the subject, it's an overlooked subject. It's stigmatized, ridiculed.
Yeah, and we had to overcome that. Like, frankly, but for me, being on an oversight committee, seeing those brave men come forward, Ryan Graves, David Grush, Admiral Gallaudet, that was impressive. And I felt like their bravery deserved a true, serious investigation.
According to a post shared on X, U.S. Congressman Eric Burleson, one of the loudest voices for UAP disclosure in Washington, reached out to 2 Canadian members of Parliament, Brandon Leslie and Grant Jackson, to open a dialogue on this issue. Because disclosure isn't a national story, it's a global one. And international cooperation may be the key to finally breaking this silence wide open. For now, the Sky Canada project remains on record, but questions about what comes next remain unanswered.
I think it's just very important for all of the people of the world to know that what we're really talking about is not extraterrestrials, yes or no. We're talking about the future of the Earth. And they were concerned about it. And one of the reasons they started showing up in the 1950s was because we had developed atomic bombs. And this affects our gravitational fields and has a devastating effect. And if there were a lot of them used, it would make our planet uninhabitable, and it would make it uninhabitable for them to come and visit for whatever purpose, so that we have a mutual interest of trying to preserve planet Earth. And that is the stake. That's the reason that every minister, not just defense ministers, but every minister, ministers of energy, ministers in charge of food, they should all be concerned because the extraterrestrials have things they can teach us. The extraterrestrials really have information that if we would take advantage of it, that I think we could save the planet.
We point our lenses to the sky and ask the ancient question, why could all this vastness, wide and deep, hold only us, are the rest asleep? The numbers speak, we can't ignore 1 billion stars and 1 trillion more. Endless galaxies proceed, and greed continues to deceive. Beneath the ice of your upper shell, oceans stir in an icy hell. Jellyfish and galactic dreams, tic-tacs and dimensional things. I know that you're not human, and time is never looming. The plants will rise and bloom, the only flowers inside the room. We've heard the signal, many beeps, while the propagandists drive their jeeps. A narrow band of frequency precise, little bit of bliss and a little delight. E.T. phone, E.T. phone.